March 15th, 12:07 AM, Theatrum Neutralis Lobby. Hello everyone, Triple is back as my ACT Investigations, Miles Edgeworth. We're in the end game now, literally. This part is part 1 of End, and it seems there's going to be 3 parts. Maybe the last part's called like Finale or something like that, I don't know, but yep, we're in the end game now. So this part, there's going to be a bunch of testimony and stuff, so hopefully it goes by pretty quickly, because it really feels like we've wrapped up a lot of things, but I guess we still need to find out who's the head of the smuggling ring or something like that. But yep, let's carry on. So now we know who the Yatagarasu really was. All you have to do was Callisto U, it was Detective Bad, and it was something Faraday. Forgot his name. Yet there remains much to this case that needs to be resolved. Just said that, Miles. Like how the weapons cross country lines, for example. Oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. The two countries have incredibly strict security systems and entry procedures. Short of a miracle, it's impossible for someone to smuggle them in. Smuggling them in, huh? We will need to open a new line of investigation on just this aspect alone. But before we do, I'd like to go through my evidence once more. Unnecessary evidence has been removed. Remaining evidence has been rearranged. Hey, there's a VCR here, sir. Now we can see what's on that tape Detective Bad gave us. This piece of evidence from the KGA incident hidden from sight for 10 long years. I just know that this is related to the current case somehow. Detective Gumshoe, if you could please play the tape for us. Sure thing, sir. This man is Manny Kochen. And he's holding a knife in his hand. This looks like footage from a security camera at the entrance of an apartment building. An apartment building? How'd you figure that? Unlike you, I actually read the summary file on the KGA incident. And the crime scene was the victim's own apartment. So this footage was shot at the entrance to the victim's own apartment building. At the trial, Mr. Faraday claimed that this piece of footage existed. However, no one could find it. Yep, somehow someone was able to steal it and hide it through Mr. Ernest Armano. I can see how this would have been a definitive piece and why someone would want to hide it. But it's a piece of evidence from a 10-year-old case. There's no way it's related to this case we're working on now, sir. Actually, I believe it has everything to do with the case we're working on now. The ringleader even went so far as to use Mr. Portsman to retrieve it. Which means that in this video lies a very inconvenient bit of footage to the ringleader. Where? Wait, what was that? Huh? That bit you played just now. Please show it to me again. Huh? This car? This is something we cannot overlook. Why is that, sir? Look here, Detective Gumshoe. I believe you have the flag. Can I get it right on it? Is that accepted? Yeah, it is. This is the national flag of the Principality of Godopia. And because it has the national flag on it, we know this to be an official government car. But the question we should be asking ourselves is, what was a government car doing there? Miss Von Carr and Miss Edgeworth. So you were here all this time. It was this guy, betcha. Ambassador Alba. Thank you very much for continuing the investigation, even this time of night. If only I was even a tiny bit more careful. This tragedy would never have happened. I am truly sorry. This wasn't your fault, sir. This had nothing to do with how careful you were. You idiot, Gracious! You couldn't chase after a simple thief. Now then, let's get down to the real reason why I came looking for the two of you. I would like you to put the investigation on hold for a while. Can you do that? Excuse me? I heard you apprehended the thief that turned this embassy upside down. And we are in the middle of an event celebrating our country's reconciliation. We can't exactly have the police and detectives walking around here forever. You're scaring the visitors away. So I hope that you can understand how I feel. But we must finish our investigation and resolve the remaining issues. Why don't we leave the rest of the Yellow Bastion and ABLAZE police? Ambassador, we are so close, just a little more, and... Miss Von Karma, I'm afraid I've made up my mind. Without my permission, you can't proceed with your investigation anyway, right? That's true, however, as he said at the very beginning, this area can be considered to be about Alabastian soil, in which case we are nothing but foreigners in their land. Is this really where our investigation ends? Hold it! Shifu, we found Miss Edgeworth, sir. Shifu, this way! He's back. Yo! How's the leg? Agent Lang, you're back on the scene rather quickly. If I laid back and took a break, I'd lose the scent of my prey, Mr. Prosecutor. Agent Lang, why have you returned? Because I have to solve this case no matter what. Well, I'm sorry to inform you. Don't take this the wrong way, I don't suspect you personally. However, a member of Interpol was just found to be a thief, and so... Under these circumstances, I wish to put your investigation on hold. After all, I believe our own police can handle things from here. They are quite capable. At this rate, investigation really will come to a close. Ambassador Alba, I get it now. I really do. No, I'm very glad you understand how I feel. No, not that. What I was talking about is... I know who the killer is behind tonight's murder. You... know... the... killer? Do you really mean that, Agent Lang? Wolves don't lie. Then who is it? Well, let me first say that I'm not talking about Mr. Cochin's murder. That was all shi-na. Langzi says, the truth lies not at the exit, but rather shines outside the maze itself. The truth is unexpectedly simple. So let me ask you this. Who do you think was Damask II's killer? I'll tell you who. It was you, Franziska von Karma. Okay, I wasn't expecting that. That's the killer! Hey, wait, but that's impossible. Yeah. Although, that whip is actually quite... Yow! Hold your tongue and that ludicrous remark you were about to make. Agent Lang, are you seriously accusing her of murder? Yeah, I am. I bet actually this is just a whole ploy for him to keep the investigation open. Or he has suspicions that it's someone else, but he's pointing it towards Von Karma, so Edgeworth can prove it's not Von Karma, and in doing so will prove that it is someone else. Maybe he's doing that. Doesn't appear to be joking. Okay, maybe not then. Hey sis, I remember that just before Ambassador Alba went to give his speech. He called you into his office, right? Yes, he did. What does that have to do with it? Anything. I'm getting to that. Furthermore, in order to solve both cases, you moved around rather freely between Alabast and Babal, did you not? And where is your evidence that I am the killer? Ha, I was just getting to that. Trust me, I'll show them to you in due time. Ambassador Alba, in order for me to bring this case to a close, I'll need to inspect your office one more time. Will you grant me permission? It's all a ploy. It's got to be a ploy. With things as they are, I suppose I don't have much of a choice, do I? Good. Let's move out. Oh, and don't even think about running away, sis. My pack will be keeping a close eye on you. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. Ha! As if I would have any reason to flee. But just so we're clear, your logic had better be sound. Because I'll accept nothing short of a perfect explanation. She seems rather upset. Not that I blame her. I expected that you'd accept no less. But we'll see how long you can keep that nose of yours stuck up in the air like that. Agent Lang, as someone related to tonight's case, I request that you allow me to take part, so that I may clean up my superior's mess. I guess I should. The more the merrier, especially when it's the peanut gallery. Oh, in that case, I want to join in too. I still haven't seen what it looks like in Alabast yet. If you let Kay in, then you've got to let me in too, pal. I can't sit around and do nothing when Miss Von Karma's in trouble. Hey, Gummy, let's have a competition to see who can save her first, okay? Okay, I'll take you up on that. Oh yeah, I'm fired up and ready to go. As a detective, I don't believe this is something you're supposed to be excited over. Sounds like this is going to be... Sounds like this is going to get real interesting. Ambassador Alba, you'll be bringing these kids along for the ride. Very well. But I'd like you to keep in mind that this will be your last chance. I'll have this whole mess cleaned up before you know it. Now let's go. So much dialogue in this game, compared to the other Ace Attorney games. March 15th, 12:53 AM, Alabastion Embassy Ambassador's Office. Okay, now let's first go over the facts one more time. Monetisations's body was found over in the Secretariat's office in Babal. The weapon that took his life was one of Alabast's ornamental knives. And then the body of the Master Second, Mr. Kashinu, was found here in the Alabastion Ambassador's office. Through investigation, we found that the murder weapon was this Primodox statue, and that this is actually Babal's statue. This case, no matter how I look at it, Sis, if it wasn't you, then there's no one else who could have pulled this off. Agent Lang, do you understand the full implications of what you are saying? Of course I do, Sis, and I'm serious. You were on the trail of the smuggling ring, and you wanted any evidence you could find. And so while people were distracted by the Atagadasi's appearance, you snuck in here. That's when you two ran into each other. You and that other thief who took advantage of the confusion from the fire. Even if all that were true, how do you explain the movement of the weapons? Don't worry, I plan to show that you're the culprit behind that too. You had permission to investigate both embassies at will. With that kind of free reign, you could have easily taken the weapons across country lines. Hey now! Look, Sis, I thought I already told you I'm not messing around here. This case isn't directly tied to the smuggling ring, but shi-na certainly is tied to the smuggling ring. He's right in saying that she's a member of the smuggling ring. However, the connection between this case and the ring, could it not be deeper than what any of us can imagine? Let's get this ridiculous circus over with already. Francisca, you need to calm down. Because you only know the facts of the Alabastion side of the case. I don't believe you can see the case as a whole and therefore solve it. What? But don't worry, I am taking this seriously as well, and I will prove your innocence. That's the only way to be, Mr. Prosecutor. But can you come up with anything else that can top my hypothesis? Of course, your explanation has to solve the mystery of the moving weapons as well. Of course, and I will. Let's now delve into the truth behind the murder of the Master Second. You do understand, don't you, Miles Edgeworth? This isn't just a confrontation against Agent Lang. If you can't figure out how the murder of the Master Second is related to the smuggling ring, then it will mean the end of our investigation. As long as I have no good counter-argument to his hypothesis, then the best I can do is walk this thin tightrope and see what I can do. Come on, Mr. Prosecutor, let's get this started. Yes, let's. Here we go! Testimony. Border crossing weapons. One of Alabast's knives was used in Babal to murder Mr. Kochen. And the murder weapon in the killing of the Master Second is Babal's Primodox statue. Somehow these two objects were able to penetrate the two countries' impenetrable security. The only one who traversed the two countries just before and after the crimes was you. As in, Francisca. So as long as I can explain how the weapons moved about, Francisca will remain a suspect. You got it, Mr. Prosecutor, so why don't you stop giving me a hard time? Under these circumstances, who the heck can carry a weapon across country lines? I've worked through every possibility, but there's only one that's plausible. Your boss. Agent Lang, what I've learned from you just now is that you've lost sight of yourself. What are you talking about? By focusing too intently on that which is in front of us, we become blind to the truth. Don't tell me Lang Z never said anything to that effect. You prosecutor! Who do you think you are, speaking about Lang Z's proverbs like that? Ha! I don't need his proverbs. Because my words are all you will need to see the truth. Here we go. Okay, so somehow these two objects were able to penetrate. Somehow these two objects were able to penetrate. We present Babal's statue. for some reason. Agent Lang, those two items are not the only two to cross the border tonight. Oh? The Master Second was killed with Babal's Primrose statue, yes. But if that's the case, then tell me, where did Alabast's Primrose statue go? To Babal! Precisely. And if the two statues really were switched, then this means that both statues were smuggled across the border at some point. This means that a total of 3 items were smuggled across the embassies. Guess so. But you know what? It doesn't matter the number of items, only that the sis is the only one who could have done it. Because the only person who went back and forth between Alabast and Babal is her. Is that really true? Was there no one else who travelled between the two countries? Actually, there was definitely another person, one who paid a visit to both sides of the wall. Is that really so, Agent Lang? What a lousy time to try and bluff your way out of this. I checked out what the guards said along with the security camera's footage. You're not going to overturn my hypothesis that easily. But suppose there was some other way other than through the theatre doors. What other way? The other entity that managed to cross the border unharmed. If I point it out, it would open up a whole new possibility. And though I hesitate to bring this out, as long as this entity exists, the impossible road becomes a possibility. Looks like you've got some clever idea in mind. I do, and I can show it to you for a single piece of evidence. Fine then. Let's see this piece of evidence that will show me this other route. This piece of evidence will show us another way to move between the two countries. Where is it? A photo of the Yatagarasu flying. Agent Lang, I'm sure you are familiar with this unforgettable photo. That supernatural photo, like I said before. Humans can't fly. No, of course not. I understand that perfectly well. And don't start claiming that shi-na somehow grew wings either. I wouldn't dream of claiming that. And I won't allow you to try to take back what you said either. I'll say it again, it's not humanly possible to fly through the air without wings. So you better have a good explanation for this, Mr. Prosecutor. But how can I prove who it was that flew through the air in this photo? Wait, not humanly possible. Eureka! Very well, you will have your explanation. It sounds like you have a good idea simmering inside that head of yours. Let's hear it. The face hidden within this photo's blurry trailed shadow is... the Alabast's Primrose statue. Naturally, the shadow is the third smuggled object, the Primrose statue replica. You can't be serious. Yatagarasu, or rather Callisto Yu, dressed as Agent shi-na, was inside Babal. She dressed the replica statue up in clothes and launched it through the air. Ha! Mr. Prosecutor! You left out a very crucial bit in your explanation. I know I did. She launched it through the air? Ha! And how exactly did she do that? Why are you screaming so much? He's literally baring his fangs at me. But he has a point. How exactly did it move through the air like that? As long as this remains unsolved, we won't be able to move any closer to the truth. Which reminds me, didn't he say this earlier? Hey sis, I remember that just before Ambassador Alba went to give his speech, he called you into his office, right? So just before the murder of Francisco was called here, right into this very room. If that's the case, then that may be another avenue I can pursue. Agent Lang, in order for me to answer that question, I will need to hear testimony from Miss Von Karma. Oh? What are you up to now, pretty boy? Earlier you mentioned something of interest to me. You said that just before the murder occurred, Miss Von Karma had been in this room because Ambassador Alba called for her. For that reason alone, you believe her to be the killer. Yeah, I guess I did say something like that. In that case, I believe it's my duty to ask her what her side of the story is. Ha! You really think a criminal would tell us the honest truth? How dare you! As I said numerous times, there is absolutely no proof that I am the killer. Miles Edgeworth, don't tell me you suspect me too. I don't. However, I can't ignore the fact that you were in this room at one point in time. Which is why I would like to hear about your movements in this room. Francisca, I feel that I still don't have enough information, which is why your testimony is incredibly important to the outcome of this case. Alright. So, what would you like me to talk about? I'd like you to please testify to your movements in this room until the murder occurred. Huh. Alright, let's try this your way for a change. If what she has to say turns out to be a waste of time, I'll place her under arrest faster than you can howl no! Huh. As you wish. Okay, Francisca's turn. I'm gonna amend my guide here so I don't get confused. Okay, movement in Alabast. As I said earlier, I was assigned to guard duty in the Alabastian embassy. After I saw the Steel Samurai off on his way towards the ambassador's office, I returned to the Rose Garden for a bit and checked up on the security situation. After all the preparations were in place, I was called back by Ambassador Albert to his office. Francisca, I want us to make this clear from the very beginning. So what I wish to confirm is that the only time span in which you were in this office was before the murder occurred, is that correct? Yes, of course. I see. For now, the only way that I can see for us to break out of this situation is to ask Francisca about her testimony in more detail. So we're going to press stuff. Rebuttal. So we're going to go to after all the preparations. After all the preparations, press. At that time, the Master Second's body had yet to be found in this room, is that correct? That's right. Ambassador Alba was here. One could hardly miss his rather large presence. A criminal will say anything to get out of getting arrested. How do we know you're not lying? Well, if you need proof, I'd be happy to oblige you. Seriously? Like I keep telling you. When I arrived at this office, Ambassador Alba was already here. He was standing by the flower box on the windowsill watering his plants. I can attest to that. I remember speaking with the lovely lady around that time here in my office. Alright then. Add that statement to your testimony, and let's hear some details. So Ambassador Alba was in this room at the time, was he? When I arrived, Ambassador Alba was watering the flowers on the windowsill. Yeah, press. For the sake of being thorough, I'd like to ask you something. How did you know that Ambassador Alba was watering his plants at the windowsill? What do you mean by that? The entrance to this room is on the side, however the window is on the opposite side. If what you say is true, then when you entered the room, his body would have been like a wall. He would have been blocking your view of what he was doing. Isn't that not correct? I suppose it was a bit hard to see around him. Unfortunately for me, Ambassador Alba is not an immovable wall. I knocked before I entered, and as I did, he turned around to greet me, with the watering can in his hand. So it's only natural to believe that he was watering his plants, right? I suppose. After his greeting, we spent a little time talking about his flowers. He had obtained them himself and is growing them with the utmost care, you know? Yes. The plants in this room, they're all like my children. Passion flowers in the flower box on the windowsill are growing beautifully too. All 4 of them are in full bloom. Miss Von Karma, what did you say just now? I said that the flowers are growing beautifully. What about that statement do you not understand? What do I not understand? I do not understand why a certain thing is the way it is. I'd like for you to append that statement to your testimony. Very well. There were 4 large passion flowers in full bloom in the flower box. We present, if I can find it, wherever the heck it is, because I've got no idea. Oh, there. 2 large flowers in bloom and Ambassador Albert takes great. 2. And Francisca, for some odd reason, your testimony contradicts with this piece of evidence. It does appear that way. Ha! I knew it. I knew we couldn't trust your words, sis. Miss Edgeworth, what are you doing discrediting Miss Von Karma like this? Yes, sir. If you keep this up, she's gonna get taken away, sir. Eek! All I've done is state what I saw. I have made not a single mistake in my testimony. For this, I am still under suspicion for murder. Is the number of flowers really all that important at this juncture, Miles? At the very least, it is a contradiction in this enigmatic case. One that I find hard to dismiss as irrelevant. Ha! Then let's hear it, Mr. Prosecutor. What does the number of flowers have to do with anything? What does it prove? I believe the answer to that will become clear if we were to examine that flower box. How did this contradiction come about? There must be something behind this discrepancy. They're my beloved flowers. I've grown them with the utmost care. So I ask that you please be gentle with them as you examine them, Miss Edgeworth. Huh, I understand. I won't rest and service, but service is Friday. Just wait, do I? Okay, it says just examine flower. I would have thought I'd be examining the holes. But I guess we examine a flower? Anyway, these flowers, I believe they're called passion flowers. Despite being called flowers, they are actually a species of vine. The sticks! I just noticed them! They appear to be growing well and are well supported by these plant supports. Yeah, but no matter how I look at it, it looks like there are only two here to me. You realise, don't you, sis? Your little liar's failed you. Ah, Miles Edgeworth! Hurry up and shut this man up for me already. I suppose I will need to use some evidence to shut him up, won't I? Show evidence, because I've already noticed it. I believe I have just the piece of evidence you require. Oh, you do you? You have such confidence in the face of your current plight, but I highly doubt it'll last until the end. You howl like a wolf, Agent Lang. But we'll see if you have any bite to back up that bark after you see the evidence. The truth the passion flowers reveal can be seen in this piece of evidence. Hair sticks. Shi-na, who was supposedly in Babal the entire time, had these hair sticks on her that look exactly like the plant supports in this flower box. In other words, I believe it can be said that these hair sticks are in actuality support sticks for the passion flowers. And so what? Is this really all that important to the case? Of course it is. It means that we found yet another item that was smuggled between the countries tonight. Hiya! Think about it logically, Agent Lang. These sticks were originally in Alabast, but somehow they wound up in Shi-na's hands, who was in Babal the whole night. So make no mistake, these sticks were smuggled somehow, just like the knife and the statue. Very well then. Want to hear from you exactly how they wound up in Babal. How did these support sticks find their way to Babal and why? Must be some reason as to why they ended up there. Aha! So that's why. Agent Lang, if you would please take a look at this and tell me its shape. It's just another stick, isn't it? And so it is, but the shape of the support sticks is what is important. For when they are used with something in this room, that's when it all comes into focus. And the object that completes the picture when used with the support sticks is... the crossbow. Yes. Above knives, left side, yeah. That's a crossbow. Wait, you're not really suggesting? I am. These hair sticks, or rather plant support sticks, they make for perfect arrows. Hiya! I've done it. I found the common thread that connects the two offices. This thread has yet to be completely untangled. Even using the arrows, how does this explain how the statues were transported? Furthermore, who could it have been who fired these sticks as arrows? There must be a common thread that ties all of these things together. Mr. Prosecutor, hold up a second. You do realise what happens when you tie a statue to an arrow, right? They don't fly at all. Okay, another thing. Border crossing part 2. I'm going to amend my guide. I'm actually not that far away from finishing, but still going to take probably an hour. The Babal statue was draped in the Yatagarasu's clothes and then shot over here. Even if you fired the arrows from this side, they wouldn't go far with the statue tied to them. I don't think I need to tell you that the primitive statues didn't sprout wings. You're a realist after all, aren't you? The primitive statues didn't sprout wings. Of course they didn't. Glad you understand. I feel much better already. I was afraid for a second that you were unaware of that crucial fact. It's only crucial because you're under the belief that wings are necessary to this equation. What? You need to free your mind a bit more and let it fly like a bird on the wind. The primitive statue flew, but not on a wing. Allow me a bit of your time and I'll explain this mysterious phenomenon to you. Okay. We need to press this statement, apparently. But that incredible scene just happened to have been caught on film, resulting in this photo. Ha! And what an incredible scene it was. This photo was taken by a freelance photojournalist, right? Yes, so I hear. And not every photojournalist is known to be honest, right? Especially not the ones that sell photos of spirits and giant creatures to tabloids. Yes, I know what you mean. I've seen those sorts of photos many times in court. Haha, yes. But there have been times when those photos have turned out to be telling the truth. If you have ever stood in a court of law, you would know that it's entirely plausible. Ha! You really believe the stuff you're spewing right now? A courtroom certainly is a strange place if what you say is true. But there really is something odd about that photo, no matter how you look at it. Okay, we didn't learn anything. The guy's telling me to press these things, so... yeah, press this as one as well, see what happens. But you're in agreement that an arrow by itself would reach the other side, correct? But just the arrow by itself is pretty meaningless, don't you think, Mr. Prosecutor? Because the things they wanted to smuggle were a lot bigger than nothing. No, that's not necessarily true. What? What I need right now is not further discussion of my conclusions, it's a launching of my conclusions. What the shooter wanted to launch with the crossbow was not the statue themselves, but rather something a crossbow can launch that can be used to move the statues. And then if it wasn't the statue that started the arrows, then what was it? Well, it was, if I can find it, the wire. Finally, we have reached this point in our discussion, where I present to you that which was carried by the arrow from the crossbow. Ha! I get it now, Mr. Prosecutor. I can see exactly what you're trying to say. You're saying that the wire was tied to an arrow and then shot into Mr. Cochin's office. All the way from the 5th floor of the Alablazian Embassy, down to the 3rd floor of the ABLAZE Embassy. What you're claiming is really what happened. I can see how Alablaze primitive statue could be moved. Gravity could be used to move the statue down the wire from the 5th to the 3rd floor. But then what about Babal's primitive statue? The dark shadow in this photo is clearly flying away from Babal, going the opposite way of the gravity from the 3rd floor of the ABLAZE Embassy up to the 5th floor of the Alablazian Embassy. How do you explain that? Aha! I think I finally see how the gears behind this whole trick works. Agent Lang, the motion used behind this trick, I wonder if perhaps you have yet to envision how it works in your head. Motion? What motion? This is the motion that was employed to smuggle Babal's primitive statue. Rotary motion, swinging motion, bungee action. It was apparently the rotary motion. I believe it was done via rotary motion. The two statues were transported simultaneously. Simultaneously? Get real, the statues would collide somewhere along the way. Did he ever say that there was only one line of wire between the two offices? If you shot an arrow with the two ends of a wire tied to it, a circular belt could be formed. Lang Zi says, don't object and call a success what is beyond reasonability. Taking into account the tension differences between the two wires, the top one would sag too much to the point where the statues would collide anyway. Agent Lang, as you know, the primitive statue is a one-of-a-kind national treasure, and the fact that Babal's statue is a hollow replica of the real statue, it would naturally be lighter than the real one, meaning that my idea is very possible. Lang Zi says, "Oh!" Here is what I believe happened. Miss Yu and her mystery co-conspirator set themselves up in the two different rooms. The co-conspirator bridged the rooms by shooting the two ends of the wire down on one arrow. Then the two of them covered the statues and proceeded to transport the statues. After the switch was completed, another arrow was fired. carrying the other end of the wire down to the bar where it's to be disposed of. And to do that means you hid it inside the grandfather clock. QED. Ha! This proves it, right, Agent Lang? That I'm not the killer? Not yet, sis. I still haven't had my dessert yet. Right, Mr. Prosecutor? The proof is in the pudding, as it were. Pudding is a nice dessert. So, do you think you can do it? Can you prove that what you said is what happened? Because remember, if you can't, I'll be taking a certain someone back home with me as a souvenir. I agree that as long as there is no proof, my hypothesis remains just that. However, what I have laid out is no mere hypothesis, for there is one more piece of evidence. One more? This should be interesting. You think you have a piece of evidence that will turn your hypothesis into fact? Well then, let's see, Mr. Prosecutor. The thing that made it possible to create a circular belt out of a length of wire. I believe that it is right here in this very room. Ah, is it the fan? Yeah. Now then, I believe this is what made the circular belt transposition method possible. I already saw it before. Ah, looks like you dropped another bomb on us again. The last piece to the trick are two pulleys. Precisely, the ceiling fans double as pulleys in this case. And thanks to the fact that there is one installed in each of the offices, the ceiling fans made for the perfect pulley set for the wire to run on. No! This must be it. This is how the smugglers bypassed the impenetrable security. You really are something else, Mr. Prosecutor. I bet you figured it all out already, haven't you? You know who the big hotshot that set up this real-life stage show is, don't you? Yeah. The person who set up this rather large and complex stage show needs to be someone who has had foreknowledge of the existence of a ceiling fan in both the Alabaster and ABLAZE offices, and that the passion flower support states could be used as arrows. The real mastermind behind this case? Well, don't you dare make this wolf wait for his food. Why are you so hesitant, Miles Edgeworth? If you can't say it to his ears, why do you present something like you always do? A single point of the finger here in this case will explode into an international incident. However, it's already too late for me to stop the forward momentum. It appears that I have no choice now but to rush in. There's a piece of evidence that will point us to who the mysterious mastermind is. Ooh, pardon me. What am I looking for here? Oh, they've been renamed to crossbow arrows. This smuggling could not have been possible without the use of the crossbow. Furthermore, the arrows that were shot by the crossbow were plucked, as it were, from the flower box in this very room. They were planted so long ago that the passion flowers had the time to grow so big that Miss Von Camp didn't even notice the arrows when she visited this room today. On top of all of this, the fact that the culprit knew that both offices are ceiling fans tells us that the person has very detailed information on the embassy's layout. So as you may have already guessed, the person I am accusing of hatching this plan is the person who grew the flowers in the flower box with the utmost care. Thus it can only be you, Quercus Alba. Are you out of your mind, Miles Edgeworth? I'm certain of what I am saying, and I am sure that he is the culprit. Tell me, Mr. Prosecutor, what was the ambassador trying to accomplish by doing all that stuff you just outlined? Why in the world would he need to use a trick like that? I understand your need to doubt me. However, there is one thing that stands out to me as very odd. Just one thing, huh? The one single end result Ambassador Alba sought to obtain. If we were to examine the focus of this complex trick, I believe we'll finally find the answer to everything. Everything will become clear once we examine this piece of evidence. Not that one, this one. I would fully understand the reasoning had the situation been the reverse. However, to go through the trouble of swapping the real Primitive statue for the fake, I sense a very shady reason for such a bizarre action. And who better to ask for that reason than King Primidux himself? I see, Ambassador. We'll be examining that statue now with or without your permission. Okay. mouse time. Zoom. We've got to examine the head. This guy kind of looks like the still samurai, don't you think? Maybe it's because they look like that he was picked to be the Goodwill Ambassador? I suppose that's possible. Huh? Take a look at this area around the base of his neck. Looks like a gap. Hey, you're right. Maybe it's meant to be some kind of secret? Perhaps it's possible to open the statue from this gap in its construction. What? Open it, Miles. Alright, here goes. Wow, it really did open up. Hey, what's this thing that fell out? Huh? I believe a more thorough examination of it is required. Do I really have to click on it? Really? What in the... is this? Hey, is this what I think it is? It's a plate for making counterfeit bills. Somehow it appears that we've at long last arrived at the exit to this complex labyrinth. We finally hold within our hands one of the counterfeit money plates, and the reason why the replica was smuggled into Alabasta to begin with. Counterfeit plate data, don't remember what it is. The pyramid-up statue can only be handled by the ambassador of the Secretariat, and the replica is nothing more than a hollow shell covered in gold. These two circumstances make the statue the ideal object in which to hide contraband. After receiving the statue containing the counterfeit plate from shi-na, the ambassador had the misfortune of accidentally running into the Master Second. Surprised by the thief, the ambassador raised the replica statue at the Master Second and... smash. Then in order to frame the still samurai of the murder, he covered the samurai sword in blood. Well, Ambassador Alba. You're the leader of the smuggling ring? My country's a mess. And it's all because of you! You're the one who killed the Master Second? Answer us! He's not going to. I never thought that you would figure things out to this level. Oh, he's actually confessing. However, there is one point I disagree with you on. The head of the smuggling ring was... Mr. Kochen. Quit screwing around. Or quite screwing around. There's a typo. I have no sympathy for someone who would try to pass the guilt onto a dead man. Just like that kid in Schindler's List. If there is one thing I'm sure of, it's that you're the real ringleader, Quercus Alba. Quercus. I say Quercus. Sounds cooler. It's not good to speak with such subjectivity, you know, Agent Lang. Subjectivity? My conclusion is anything but, and is the result of logic and investigation, and a lot of help from Edgeworth. Logic and investigation? Only seconds ago you were ready to arrest Miss Von Karma. I don't think we can give such flip-floppy logic any real weight, do you? Lots of laughing in this game. It looks like you still don't get why I came back. Excuse me? You see, the reason I came back is so that I could sink my fangs into your wrinkly old neck. From the very beginning, my real target has been you. Called it! Pick up the phone, because I called it. What? Agent Lang, I demand an explanation. Sorry, sis, I didn't mean to put you through all that. I knew you were innocent from the very beginning. You did. I know this whole incident had been meticulously planned and prepared for. So naturally the occupant of this room, Ambassador Alba, seemed the most suspicious. But without the Ambassador's permission, we couldn't get in to take another look around. Ah, so that's why you put on this big show to accuse Francisca of the murder. Using Francisca as the bait, you were able to gain us entry in investigative rights. Yeah, if I hadn't done that, I doubt the Ambassador would have given the okay to poke around. So that's what all this was about. Very well, I'll forgive you. But in exchange for using me as bait, take me out to dinner, please. Oh, no, wait. You will take some responsibility and help us find the truth. Agent Lang, for giving me such a great opening. I thank you. You know, I just knew, Mr. Prosecutor, that somehow if we were able to find some proof by investigating this room, that you would be able to figure out the real culprit with your special brand of logic. The evidence detectives collect combined with the logic of a prosecutor That's just as it should be in a prosecutor-detective team, right? Tsk, I don't know about all of that. But one thing I do know is that I'm itching to see that old man get what's coming to him. Ho-ho, you're quite scary when you want to be, aren't you? Hey, you were the one who was planning to use me to push all the guilt onto the sis. But unfortunately for you, you misjudged me. So much dialogue. Agent Lang, I wish for you to stop trying to intimidate me. What we need right now is evidence and proof. I wonder if you have what is necessary to prove that I am the head of the smuggling ring. Objection! Don't be such a sore loser. If you really are the head of the smuggling ring, then you should acknowledge your crimes with dignity. Dignity? That is nothing more than a fool's insincere display of strength. I couldn't read that word then. If you really wish for me to acknowledge my crimes, then I would like to first see some of this thing you call evidence. Arrgh. I tell you, I knew nothing, really. I didn't even know that a counterfeit plate was hidden inside that statue. You sought a real statue that vested in your country the authority to rule for a fake. It doesn't make any sense that you didn't know anything. It doesn't make sense? Why doesn't it make sense? Can you prove that it doesn't make sense? Urgh. He's really got us. He's turned the entire situation around against us. The proof that Interpol has been after which points to this man as the ringleader. If we can somehow find that proof now, then we can see to it that justice is finally served. Is there nothing I can use to break this case wide open? The trump card and the videotape. With those two items, we might be able to finally bring this man down. But the card is evidence from the case that Mr. Faraday hid away in secret. And the tape was stolen by Detective Bad from the police. They're both illegal evidence. No matter what a protector of the law can't be allowed to use such pieces of evidence. Needless to say, needless to say, we Von Karmas are commanded to achieve nothing but victory, and by any means necessary. The only way to bring someone like that to justice was to do so outside of the courts. That's what we thought at the time. I no longer follow the path of Manfred von Karma, and I won't follow the path of the Yatagarasu. This leaves me with what creed will I believe in? If I want to pursue the truth, then I will sully my hands in illegality. My goddamn stutter. And if I want to pursue justice, then I will lose the truth. What is the law and what is justice? Which path is a prosecutor supposed to follow? That choice is what I must make by my own hand here and now. So apparently the guide says either of these options would work, but it does also specifically say to just use a trump card, so I'm going to do it, and Edgeworth, you're not going to be a prosecutor anymore. There is no limit to the law, any limit that exists was set there by man. When a person goes beyond that limit, then the law too crosses into new territory. For what reason were laws invented? The answer to that is what I must now show. Ambassador Alba. I wonder if you might recognise this. Oh, I wonder what that card is. I've never seen that before in my life. It's a directives card used by the leader of the ring to relay instructions to his subordinates. Oh, is that what it is? This card was sent to the real culprit behind the KGA incident 10 years ago. A man by the name of Mr. Monetisation. Oh, so why do you have such a card in your possession? Because it was hand-delivered to me. By a certain great thief, the Yatagarasu. Yatagarasu gave that to you? Don't talk nonsense and let's be serious, Mr. Edgeworth. Do you have any proof that the card contains directions from the ringleader? I'll have you know that the card is not the only thing I was given. What? This contains security footage that was shot just before the start of the KGA incident. The KGA incident? The card and the video. These two pieces of evidence are what will seal your fate. Oh, very interesting. I must admit I am very curious now. Very curious indeed in these case-deciding pieces of evidence you've presented. prey the Yatagarasu has been chasing all this time now stands before me. I can't allow this man who has had free reign for 10 long years to simply walk away. Now is the time for me to bring to fruition the valiant spirit that was given to me. March 15th, 1:34 AM, Theatrum Neutralis Lobby. So what is this interesting thing that you wanted to show me? The trump card and the videotape. These two pieces of evidence together make for the ultimate hand. And this is where the real meaning behind Detective Bad's words will be realised. Seti Gumshoe. Yes, sir. What you see here is security footage shot just before the KG8 murder occurred. From this footage, we know that the card is a directives card from the smuggling ring. This is the section that proves that the card was used to relay an order. Highlight his right hand. There. The one with the card. The guy could have just said the one with the card in it, but as you can see, Mr. Coach is holding the card in his right hand. I see. The killer is indeed holding a card with the exact same design on it. But that card and the one you have, just because they look the same doesn't mean that they are, does it now? Ah, but there is a very easy way for me to prove that they are in fact one and the same. All we have to do is simply take a look at this. Blood on the back of the card. If I can spin it round. Examine. This dark red blood, yes, this is your proof. Proof that the orders on this card were played out in that terrible tragedy. The blood belonged to the victim of the KG incident. With a bit of DNA testing, we can very easily verify that as fact. If you have no objections, then I'd like for you to take a look at this next piece of footage. This car that passed by in front of the victim's apartment building is an official Cadopian government car. What? Teddy Gumshoe, if you could please magnify the footage. This area of the footage directly links the smuggling ring with Cadopia. Highlight the breast pocket, man in black. Here? Is it that you're talking about? Yes. The shape of this pocket and the director's card in it tells us that without a doubt this person in this car is Mr. Kochen. The license plate on the car was also captured by the security camera. And with it we can easily find out who was sitting in this car on that day 10 years ago. Which is why I can say with confidence that you were riding in this car on that day. Lots of laughing. Uh-oh. Super Saiyan form activate. You've done well, boy, to make it this far. However, about your claim that I was riding in that car at the time, that's going to be mighty difficult to prove. How so? The Principality of Cadopia no longer exists, so naturally all records from that time period also no longer exist. Ah, that arrogance. What it really means is he's already erased all traces of them. Are we finished here, boy? The only weapon I have left me now is this piece of footage. There must be something here that I can use against him. I do believe the one thing that is very visible, that really caught my eye, is this medal here. It's the same one that he's fingering right there. What the? Ambassador Alba. Yes, what is it? You were once an army man in the service of Cadopia, and it was you who made the many missions you participated in successes, correct? Huh, why the sudden backhanded praises, boy? Well, to be sure, the brilliant medals on my breast were awarded to me during the era of Cadopia. But now I am the only one who owns this particular medal. In that case, the only person it could be who is sitting in this car is you. How do you figure that? By the medal captured here in this footage. It is clearly the same exact medal as the one on your chest. What? Oh god, what's happened to your face? Oh, I don't like that. This is how it will be, but I won't look back. For this is the path that I have chosen. You've moved me with your devotion to this case, Miss Edgeworth. Why is he taking such an arrogant stance with me? It's almost looking impossible, isn't it? For the lot of you to have come this far, looks like I just might lose our little game this time. You might lose the game this time? You don't get another round, Mr. Ambassador. Is that a fact? Very well. I've decided to confess and admit my guilt. You're going to confess? And I'll accept whatever punishment that may come as a result. What the? Regarding the Damasus murder, I admit it. I did it as a self-defense. Oh. You're claiming it was justified self-defense? Damasus attacked me, and I felt that my life was in danger. If I hadn't done what I did, I might be the one you found dead instead of him. What a pathetic performance. Ha 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 ha! I'm not giving you one. Wow, you two really know how to laugh at inappropriate times. Yep. If you wish to claim it was justified self-defense, then we'll need some evidence. It's always the evidence with you, isn't it? You were the one who was just claiming that you needed evidence. But if that's what you require, I'll provide it. That man left a mark on me when he attacked. What? I don't particularly want to show it off, but this is proof that it was in self-defense. I'm an old man, and sometimes I don't pay enough attention when I should, but Damasus didn't have a single weapon on his body. I read that as if the same person was saying it. I said it wrong. Hold on, it's nothing to get worked up over because I hid the weapon. You hid it? I'm sorry, but as you know, a murder is a murder, even if it's in self-defense. And I couldn't let it become public, seeing as how I am an ambassador. This is the weapon you seek, my special bonsai trimming shears. Ah, it's covered in blood. He was trembling quite badly during our struggle. But that's when he grabbed the shears that were sitting in my office and attacked. So you see, it was an act of self-defense. You see, right, Mr. Edgeworth? Since he has both a wound and the weapon that caused it, it's enough to declare it so. Ambassador Alba's wound data shutdown organizer. No way! Oh, which reminds me, I guess there is still one more accusation I need to resolve. Smuggling and counterfeiting. Unfortunately, all of that is my secretary's doing. I had no knowledge it was going on. Stop spring nonsense. You're trying to throw my investigation under the bus in your desperation. If you want to get real honest, everything in this case can be connected to you. The murder in Ambassador II was done in self-defense. In my trials, no man escapes his crime alive. Perhaps so, if you were my opponent in court. However, there is one very important fact that I think you may have forgotten. And what is that? That's what you mean. Extraterritoriality. That's right. This embassy sits on what is effectively Alabastian soil. So any trial that is to be held will be held in Alabast. Therefore, the crime I just admitted to will never be tried in your courts. Agent Lang, what is Interpol's stance on this? Agents investigate, that's our job. The judgment of people who have confessed to their crime, that's the court's job. And I've already confessed to all of my crimes, Agent Lang. Furthermore, by the very nature of my position, I have full extraterritorial rights. These rights are effective even on your country's soil. Therefore, no matter where a crime may take place, I will never stand trial in one of your courts. Your arrogance and your expression. That's nothing like the face of someone who is ready to accept the consequences. Don't tell me you have your own country's judicial system eating right out of your hands. These crimes you all speak so seriously of, to me this has all been nothing more than a game. You may chase me out of this embassy with your accusations, but it's no big deal. Alabasta has numerous other embassies in other countries around the world. All you would accomplish is you would change the backdrop of our little game. These 2 layers of protection that extraterritoriality provides him. This is why he is one of those who cannot be brought to court. You see now, don't you? I live in a whole different world than you. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to go and fetch your eviction papers. Is there nothing we can do? To be continued! I'll have to cut out a bit of something then, because someone knocked on our door and it was a delivery and I had to go get it, so gonna have to cut a bit out. So if you notice there's a weird little cut towards the end of this episode, it's because that happened. You might have my dog barking as well, I don't know, but... we almost got our man. Everything points to that phony person, that pie-cell of a man, pretending to be infirm, and then he just stands up upright and he's all well and happy and good. Oh, the arrogance in his face. And I called it that Agent Lang wasn't actually accusing Francisca of the crime. I knew it immediately. But anyway, that actually probably took less than about an hour, maybe pretty close to an hour, I don't know, especially with me spewing on like this. But anyway, that was that. We do still have, surprisingly, if I can amend my guide, we have 2 more parts left. There's another part that's probably also going to take about an hour, but we'll have to see. A lot of it is just testimony stuff, it seems, and a bunch of presenting. There's not a lot of detective work still left to do, and some logic. And then the last part, again, it seems really short. It's just a small testimony part, some logic, and then presenting some stuff. But even then, with all the dialogue, it could take for all I know like 2 hours to do the last part, even though it looks incredibly short with this game. But we're so close to finishing at Miles Edgeworth, and then we'll be moving on to the second Miles Edgeworth game, which I have the fan translation of. So anyway, there you go. So, thank you all for watching, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you decide to subscribe to the channel, that would be amazing, and ding that bell to be the first to hear about my new videos. Thanks again, and I shall see you all next time. Goodbye.